Hello and welcome to Oakville Matters. Thanks to Cogeco TV, this is our opportunity to talk about what matters to Oakville most. And today, joining me are Councillor Beth Robertson from Bronte and three members of the task force. I'm going to promote them to task force, who are working on a vision for the downtown Bronte. Once upon a time, I'm not sure we could use the word downtown Bronte for the Bronte Village, but we're dreaming big here because it's the visioning exercise. We have Maureen Healy, who's the executive director of the Bronte Business Improvement Association. And we have Amanda O'Rourke, who is from 880 Cities, which is an interesting little organization I'm going to describe, I hope, positively in a second. And we have Ryan Goldwyn from Goldwyn and Sons. And if you need a haircut or a shave, all appearances to the contrary notwithstanding, he's your guy. That's a joke about the fact that you have a beard.
That's right.
I want to get straight to 880. 880 is a organization with the unique proposition that if you plan your community to make 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds happy, then everybody else will be happy too. And I only have one quibble with that. I know a whole bunch of people in their 40s who are looking for a few things that 8 and 80 are not looking for. So we have to remember the rest of the age group too, is my caution. But it's an interesting concept, 8 and 80. Maureen, I don't know who to throw this to first, but I'm going to start with you. What on earth is going through the Bronte BIA's head to even do a visioning exercise, and with a public survey, no less? So why are you doing it? How's it going?
It's going great to start off. Let me do right off the top that we have a survey online that we're hoping people will fill out and tell us what makes Bronte Bronte and what would it take to make Bronte even better. That's the kind of gist of what we're working on. So we were talking earlier about different districts. So people obviously that know Oakville know that Bronte has been an evolving district for years, from being a traditional territory of the Mississauga of the Credits to a fishing village to now a very robust residential, commercial, and recreational area. But it's never static. It's always in flux. There's always something happening. So we started this process about a year ago when I took on the role of executive director, and we were looking literally across the street when we were able to meet as a board at the new village condo rental development that was happening, and realizing that as of June 2021, which is right around the corner, 1,000 new people are going to move into Bronte. So the question was, are we ready? What does that look like? What impact will that have on this particular area? So we realized that we can either let change happen to us, or we can be part of the discussion and help influence that change. That was the gist or the impetus for the project.
Okay, and you guys turned to Amanda and her organization to help you do that?
We sure did. Amanda's a great partner. I'll let her describe. She's worked with organizations similar to ours in cities and towns all across the world and in the GTA more locally to help them do what we're doing in terms of dreaming big. So Amanda, maybe you can give us some other examples.
Sure, yeah. And we were so excited to work on this project. Mayor, as you described, we're an organization with a really simple philosophy. And we've worked with about 300 cities all over the world, bringing people together to transform mobility and public space in order to create healthier, more equitable, more sustainable cities. And we often work with local partners like BIAs or community organizations, and are a great sort of bridge between community and government to actually get our public spaces being more human-centered and people-friendly in order to actually create healthier communities. So we're excited to work with Bronte Village BIA on this Bronte Forward project to collect a community input and feedback that will drive change in the neighborhood going forward. So it's Bronte Forward for a reason. It's all about what is the future for the community, but leveraging existing assets in the community, your wonderful parks, your public spaces, the actual community in and of itself, the social connections, and building those relationships with community partners to sustain it in the long run.
Okay, well, Ryan, let me
Yes,
let me try for you what I heard over the last 15 years that I've been involved with the BIA and the community in Bronte. The customers who live around Bronte want stores that are attractive and full of their friends and neighbors shopping. And at the same time, they want an open parking spot right at the door.
Mhm.
Does that about describe what you see? And the merchants want the reciprocal. They want their store full of happy spending customers, and they want an open parking spot right at the door for one more customer.
It's true. There is a lot of demand for parking spots in the area, and there is a lot of demand for foot traffic, people wanting to come in and pass through the stores. And fortunately, with the way the buildings are designed, there is adequate parking space for visitors, and there is adequate foot space. So it is something that I see amongst all my neighbors, and something I think that Bronte does really well.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that Bronte's so popular, I usually have to walk a few blocks to go to the places that I like. Beth, have I adequately described the phenomenon of what you hear from the merchants and the residents about what they want?
That we are a victim of our own success? Yes. That people might have to park down on Ontario Street at our big free open lot to be able to come up and enjoy going to a restaurant and another restaurant and enjoy all those merchants that are there. But the reality is that walk is less than 5 minutes. So it's a great place to come as visitors and even as the local residents enjoy all the things that we offer now. So it's a good mix right now.
It makes me wonder, it seems to me that the pandemic has led all of us to appreciate walking more and to walk more. And I'm really curious to see if, hopefully the pandemic goes away. Will we keep walking, or will we resume demanding a parking spot right at the door, or we're not going?
And I think that probably speaks to, there's only so much land to go around, especially when you have water on one side. So we're glad that, for example, the town kept the 2 bike corrals in Bronte over the winter. So we did see people using them. There's lots of people that are walking. We've actually been counting the number of people walking in the park over the winter because we moved our Muskoka Chair project into the park for the winter, which we normally do in the summer. And we probably have 50 to 100 times more people walking in the park on any given day compared to the year before. So people want a safe, easy, clean place to walk. And I know when Amanda came and safely did a walkabout in our area, and she can give you her first impressions, she was so impressed that we had winter washrooms open. So we get a big thumbs up from Amanda for having washrooms open during the winter, which I think has helped allow people to stay mobile and remove some of that social isolation.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
Other mayors are mad at me for setting that example. We're delivering deluxe services that nobody else wants to do. I mean, it's not free, to do that kind of stuff. So,
but
Amanda,
I think it's a really good, what Maureen is saying around the winter maintenance too. We also noticed that lots of people were walking. Like there's a huge demand, as you said, more people walking amidst COVID. And then also we saw the investment from the town of actually maintaining the walkways so that people could get outside, be physically active, get some kind of social connection while physically distanced. So I think in terms of like your question around, the future we want is the one that we actually collectively decide on, which is really what this exercise is about. So if we want to create a community where people are able to walk and engage in physical activity and have opportunities for social connection, and build a sense of belonging. If that's the future we want, then we know that we have to build more walkable streets, and we have to prioritize that kind of maintenance of walkways and have washrooms open. So I think that the question is really around, if we want it to be a healthier community, how do we get there? And it means creating and facilitating irresistible infrastructure that supports those kinds of activities.
Well, if you're a boater, Bronte has got A+ facilities. It remains to be seen what else we might need. Ryan, are there 2 barbershops in Bronte now? Or would you say there's more?
There's more, actually. I think there's 4 in our area. There's Goldman & Sons, but then there's also Haney's, there's Bronte Barber Shop, Joe's Barber Shop, just beside Coochie, just within that small vicinity.
Yeah, and that's the area I'm thinking of. So you rival, Kerr Street has a similar population of barbershops.
Right.
And downtown Oakville, I remember when there weren't any, and now it seems like we've got one block with 2. So,
Right. Sometimes there's barbershops like neighbors to each other,
yeah.
If the building permits it. It is true, but I think the reason is because people are seeing barbershops as a place to find their niche group. Like there's a famous barbershop in downtown Oakville called Village Cigar, where people interested in cigars and the drink culture can congregate. There are people that just want a quick $20 haircut. So there are other barbershops for that kind of market. And ours tries to address the luxury experience where like the father and the son can go for like an outing, and experience something together.
I'm imagining that Amanda and Beth and Maureen may not be as interested as I am in this, but I understand you offer more than a shave and a haircut.
Yeah, we have a liquor license. So we offer Scotch to our paying customers, and we try to give them the experience of Scotch. So it's not just like, here's an ounce and a half to enjoy, but it's what's the history of the drink. We also try to focus on catering to the person's full well-being. So our conversation in our shop's always about self-development, starting your own business, pursuing your dreams, things like that. So anything just to make the people feel good about that experience when they visit.
So
And I can attest that my son comes home looking great after seeing Ryan. So
Thanks, Bill.
what I'm chasing here is, if I were a Scotch lover, and I'm not saying that I am, would that make me like my haircut more or less?
You know what's interesting? I think the answer would be yes, because half the experience of the haircut is the experience, right? So I feel a lot of customers come in, we talk about Scotch, we drop maybe like a drop of water on their glass, and all of a sudden they just love coming into the shop and coming back. So just those small things helps them appreciate the haircut too.
I've always said a good haircut is better than a nap.
Right.
And you can see why we've asked Ryan to be on our project advisory committee for this Bronte Forward project, because Ryan is a forward thinker. So he opened his shop, I think it was March 2020, just before the pandemic struck, right. With big dreams, bold dreams, still around. And that's why he's on his committee, because he's always thinking ahead and thinking what can be next.
Right.
Well, Ryan is personifying a kind of concierge level service.
That's right.
That I have always said is what Oakville residents are always looking for, especially from the town. It's like they want that high-end sort of experience.
Oh, 100%. Like I remember when we were looking for a location, we thought downtown Oakville, and then our real estate agent found this location in Bronte Harbor, and I swear everybody that I know that lives in Georgetown, Milton, or Mississauga doesn't know about Bronte Harbor. And when they spot it, they're like, I can see sailboats outside my barbershop. This is absolutely insane. But at the same time, Bronte Harbor is probably the closest thing I remember to the piazzas in Italy, or those like covered walkways in Japan where there was just pedestrians going through all those little like food shops and suit stores. Bronte was the closest thing I could imagine to that being real in Canada, which is why we love the spot. And we hope that's something that I can see in the future too.
So would that mean your street might be pedestrian only?
I don't know if it has to be pedestrian only, but I would say, because there is something about seeing like McLarens pass by. But at the same time, it is really pedestrian friendly. for all those families to walk right by the water and then go into all the small stores. If one of those roads was pedestrian only, I can't even imagine how much you could do just in terms of not only traffic, but like culture and festivals in that area, just by the water.
So the survey that we're doing related to Bronte Forward does ask the question about pedestrian only streets among the other questions we ask. And it's a 7-minute survey that people can fill out online. But we do ask that question. So if you're going to dream, you may as well think of all the permutations of what that future could look like. And that's one of them.
Right.
So Beth, what's your perception of the answer? What do you think you're going to hear from the residents? I mean, you talk to the rest, you go door to door and talk to residents all over Bronte. What's your forecast? What do you expect? I
can't actually say what I think people will be responding to. I know that as I follow social media with the different groups around Bronte, they're very, very diverse in their thinking about it. So I have a friend that I play pickleball with almost every day. He was born and raised in Bronte. And at 70 years old, he is the first one to champion the changes. He thinks it's amazing. He says, I grew up thinking I was on the wrong side of the street. I was in the gutters of Oakville and not worthy. And he said, I get this sense now that we are dynamic and full of energy, and I can walk up to a restaurant, I can walk up to a local store and be, right in my niche without leaving my area. So he loves it. So it's really great to see the diversity. And yeah, there's lots of people that sit there and say it's growing too fast. But the reality of population intensity is that Bronte's one of the chosen areas. And it is going to change. So the more we think that as our numbers grow, if that's part of the dynamic feeling of it, I think that we can do the festivals and the things that keep people happy right within their own little area.
Well, yeah, council chose Bronte as a minor growth node to try to respond positively to the complaints and the worries from merchants and residents that Bronte not be left behind and get none of the benefit of growth. I mean, growth has costs and growth has benefits, and it's important to try to take a balanced view of it. I think our council does that. Amanda, what about your forecast for what we're going to hear? Or better yet, in 300 other municipalities, what do you see coming back to this kind of survey question? Are there any universal things?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so we've already received like 400 surveys, which is great. And some of the themes that are coming out are the interest in having more walkable streets and the opportunity to actually interact with all these wonderful businesses that Bronte has to offer. And I just love that Ryan talks about experience and like the actual user experience in his business, because I think we think a lot about that in terms of our parks and public spaces and streets as well, as a way to think about what is the actual experience that we're creating in this district for people from start to finish. But the first sort of things that we're hearing is that people are really interested in walkability, having a walkable streets, which is, I think, our founder, Gil Penalosa, always talks about every trip begins and ends with walking. We all walk, we're all pedestrians or move at the speed of a pedestrian. So I think in working with 300 municipalities, that's always top of mind. How do we create safe and comfortable places for people to walk? We're human beings. Walking is like fundamental to our health and well-being. We like making eye contact with people, even if we're wearing a mask. That social connection is really important. So I would say that probably will come out, and we're seeing sort of signs of that as well. I think there's also a really unique opportunity around Bronte, and knowing that there is a high proportion of older adults in the neighborhood, as well as families with young children. So thinking about the needs, using the 880 rule, thinking about the needs of those demographics as we think about the district as a whole and how it can serve that community.
Well, I've always been impressed with the width of Bronte's sidewalks in the village there. You know, there's room to walk, and that was one of the things we changed in downtown Oakville, where the sidewalks were very narrow, and the ability to walk together and for the merchants to put stuff out in front of their stores was very constrained. Are people asking for, oh, I don't know, the London Eye, you know, that Ferris wheel that London put on the Thames River? I mean, or is it just make my trip more walkable?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, we're really, as Maureen said, we're really trying to capture like the core values and visions for the community to guide future development. So the asks are not like as specific as that, but they're more about understanding what are the priorities as you said, development is happening in the area and there's growth. What are the big opportunities for investment that will actually resonate well with the community residents that are there as well as visitors. Yeah.
And without getting too specific, we're asking people, what do you want Bronte to look, feel, and taste like and smell like in the next 20 years? So they could be specific or they can be very general. It's an aspirational exercise we're doing. So I have to put a plug in before the end to say to go to bronte-village.ca, and that's the website, and you can find the information about the exercise that we're doing through early May, as well as fill out the survey there. So bronte-village.ca.
Okay, the dash is important, I imagine.
Yes.
So Ryan, what do you want to see? When you fill it out, what are you going to say?
Actually, so I have filled it out. And I sent it to as many people as I could. But honestly, it goes back to those piazzas in Italy where you had a big open space and there was a statue of, you know, something historical in the middle. And then there was all these nice high-end stores just around it. People could come in, visit all the restaurants and the soup stores and whatever, and then walk right out of the piazza, go to their car and drive off wherever they needed to. So if there was a spot where people could congregate, walk, enjoy the view, visit the stores, if Bronte was like Savile Row, if it was like those piazzas, if it was like Cinque Terre in Italy, I swear this place would be unbelievable. It'd be unparalleled.
Where to put the piazza?
That's just something. I mean, yeah, that's something to think about. Just imagine the layout of the city. But yeah, if we had something like that, a pedestrian-only area with stores everywhere, and then adequate parking around it, somehow, underground parking, overground parking, I don't know. Man, we hit something that I don't think Ontario has seen too easily.
And that's the kind of dreaming we want to see in this exercise.
So Maureen, is Centrilla Square as close as we get to a piazza?
I'm hopeful we could dream bigger.
Okay. I was just trying to identify what have we got that you could work with.
Well, actually, we have a new public square, Market Square, coming at the new development that's happening at the Bronte Village, and I believe that'll be ready this year. So that will be a new gathering and public space for us, where we can be doing Christmas tree lighting and hopefully farmers markets down the road. So opportunity is coming, and we want to be part of shaping that opportunity.
I've been sponsoring music concerts in the summer down at I don't know, we call it a bandstand, but it looks like a canvas shaped like a sail or something. But you guys know what I mean, down there in the park. Is that close enough to the village to serve any use to this kind of thinking?
Yes, exactly. That park, the Waterfront Heritage Park, and the green space in the water is our differentiator in Bronte. It is what makes us unique. It's what draws people down there. So we want to capitalize that and weave that into the commercial district and make better connections for people on the pedestrian side, cycling trails and everything. So we definitely don't see them as separate. We see them totally integrated into the community.
All right. And Beth, what are you saying in your version of the survey?
I'm seeing a lot what Maureen says, the dynamic piece of having community gather, and whether it's in that village square that will be up by Lakeshore or it's down at the park with music nights. As soon as COVID gets done and we can get back to a semblance of gathering again, I see that integration between coming down Bronte Road, across Lakeshore for a nice walk, a nice meal, a nice haircut, and we all, and then we gather for music night. We have diverse music nights. And so we reach more of our population, more of our age groups. And that's, and we get a good bakery because that's what I keep hearing. Mm-hmm. So if there's specifics on it, everybody wants a bakery down there.
Well, as bad as bakeries are for my waistline, I love bakeries.
Yeah, me too.
So Maureen, we got about a minute left. Can you just rhyme off for me the rest of the questions to give people a little appetizer here?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot there. Yeah, I don't have the questions off the top of my head, but we are asking people to tell us what you like about Bronte. So what's working? What makes you come downtown? Tell us a story or a memory of Bronte that you can relate to, so we can, again, make those personal connections. And then we turn and ask people, give them a list of things they might want to see be different. They can add to that list. It's not a static list, but tell us what would make it that much better.
And it doesn't have to be people just in Bronte.
No.
It could be people anywhere in Oakville, not even in Oakville, that have this sense of Bronte being something that's important in their life. What draws people to Bronte.
Yeah. So beyond the survey, we're actually looking to do focus groups. So really trying to get some of those diverse and hard to reach audiences that are often underserved. So we're doing that through stakeholder groups, focus groups. Unfortunately, we can't be in the park under the gazebo doing some display boards, which we'd love to do. So it's all virtual, but again, we're looking for groups that may want to be part of the focus group to get in touch with us, and we can organize that with Amanda and her team.
Well, that sounds super. I think this is something to keep an eye on, and I look forward to seeing the results. Maybe you guys can all come back on when you finish the survey and you're ready to unveil the results. And let me thank you for joining us today and listening to us. And I hope that you're inspired to go fill in the survey at bronte-village.ca. And I thank Ryan and Maureen and Amanda and Beth for joining us today. And we'll see you next time.